right, another onslaught of new fragrance releases that are on the horizon. I'm going to break it all down for you coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Sebastian. We're talking about brand spanking new fragrances. And actually, I'm going to talk to you about a deal that just recently happened with a luxury brand that is going to soon start making fragrances. But there's a ton of new releases on the horizon. And on the bonus section, I have a whole collection of Brunello Cucinelli fragrances that have been announced as well, that I'm going to talk to you about. But let's talk about that first announcement. So the luxury house of Swarovski has just signed a deal with COTY, and they are going to start producing fragrances. And I think the first fragrance will launch in 2026, or fragrances, I don't know. But this is another luxury house getting into the fragrance game. Now, if you guys don't know COTY, COTY has their really inexpensive fragrances, their classic fragrances, and they also have a sub-collection now called Infiniment Coty. They're more niche fragrances, and they're also distributors. They distribute fragrances for Gucci and Calvin Klein. They distribute for Bottega Veneta and many other brands. Although I think the owners of the brands Gucci and Bottega Veneta, I think Bottega Veneta actually is no longer with COTY, come to think of it. I believe that Kering has taken on and released their fragrances, but COTY has an umbrella of brands, then they distribute fragrances for all these brands. So they just signed a deal with Swarovski, and so they're going to be launching their first fragrances. So I'm kind of curious to see what they're going to put out. Swarovski is an expensive, brand, so we'll see what they launch. But that is just the first news I wanted to talk to you about today. So the remainder of the fragrances are actual fragrances. We're going to start off with L'Orchestre Parfum. And they have a brand spanking new fragrance called Cocktail Appalaches. So I got to sample this in October or September of this year, earlier this year. And this is the second boozy fragrance from this house, and it's super, super delicious, guys, and I think you guys are going to like it. It does feature sesame, vanilla, liquor, amaretto, pink pepper, benzoin, woodsy notes, tobacco, and saffron. It's created by the perfumer that did Lumari's Porthole, and she's part of the Flair group of lady perfumers. And when I spoke to the perfumer Emily Bourgeois earlier this year, I've got videos on the channel with her if you want to go catch those videos. She mentioned that sesame is a very hip new note. And here it is with L'Orchestre Parfum Cocktail Appalaches. She was kind of giving us hints of what we're going to see in the future. And obviously this just launched from the house of L'Orchestre Parfum, created by one of her co-perfumers for this fragrance. The next fragrance is from the house of Room 1015. This is Jasmine Freak. So Jasmine Freak I have gotten to sample earlier this year, around the same time that I sampled Cocktail Appalaches. And I just got to sample it again at Scent Explorer, but I've had this sample with me since earlier this year during TFWA, and I'm going to give you a little information about it. I actually really like this jasmine, and I don't have a notes breakdown for you, unfortunately, but I'll smell it on camera for you. It's not an animalic. It's not an animalic jasmine, or like I should say indolic. I guess if you really focus on it, you might pick it up. There's some fruity elements in here. I am getting a bubblegummy touch with it, which is fun and playful. It's kind of young. And also, it's the same perfumer that did the previous fragrance for Room 1015 called Wave Child. His name is Jerome de Marino. He's created one of my favorite fragrances, Jardin de Misva for Un Nuit Nomade. Really digging this one. So that is Jasmine Freak. We'll see that very soon. But moving on to the house of Calvin Klein, we've got two fragrances, flankers from the Eternity collection. We've got a men's called Eternity Amber Essence, and we've got a woman's called Eternity Amber Essence for women, so for men and for women. And there was a amber fragrance that I had bought from Calvin Klein from one of their other collections. What collection was that? Let me see if I can see it up there. I don't see it right now, but I enjoyed that particular amber. This one sounds really nice. Benzoin, vanilla, amber, and Italian mandarin. So they're giving the men's version a bit of a citrusy edge with the ambery notes of the vanilla, amber, and benzoin. And with the woman's, it's going into more of a tropical floral direction. It features vanilla, benzoin, amber, ylang-ylang, and that very powdery green vegetal note of angelica Angelica is featured in there as well. So I'm kind of thinking that we'll see something nice here. I'm not holding my breath. I haven't been very excited about Calvin Klein fragrances, but I've got my hopes high for these two releases. I think what I'll do is probably get my nose on the men's first, and we'll see if the women's is anything to write home about. All right, next up is Acqua di Parma's Colonia Il Profumo, and another flanker in the Colonia series of fragrances. This is a long-standing collection of fragrances that started in the early 1900s. So it's orange, bergamot, petitgrain, lemons, ylang-ylang, vetiver, leather, sandalwood, lavender, neroli, verbena, pineapple, cedar, oak moss, patchouli. So you've got a lot going on in here. So this seems more like a substantial and robust take on that fresh eau de cologne style fragrance that Colonia is known for, especially since it has leather, sandalwood, and vetiver, even oak moss in the dry down. So we'll see how it is. This is a LVMH owned brand, Acqua di Parma, and they do some nice releases. We shall see. But the next fragrance is from the house of Rosendo Mateu. It's number 5 Elixir. I do have a bottle here that I hope to review very soon, but I put my nose on this one in September, October of earlier this year as well. Really quite impressed, and also really loving the concentration. Really long lasting. It's not the same power as Followed, but I love the lingering power. And if you love number 5 from Rosendo Mateu, you're going to love this one if you want more strength. But when I posted about this back in October of this year, a lot of you said it's already pretty strong. Well, this is stronger for sure. And again, it is got that kind of Baby Cat DNA as well. So if you're into that fragrance, you're going to like this one. If you think Baby Cat doesn't last, if you think Vanagloria doesn't last, you're going to want to get your nose on Rosendo Mateu number 5 Elixir. But moving on to the house of Sospiro, it's the anniversary edition. It's amber, May Rose, raspberry, orange blossom, bergamot, patchouli, oak moss, tuberose, and jasmine. I love Sospiro's fragrances. Again, my favorite is Dolce Melodia. Second favorite is Dolce Sonata. And then it's a bit blurry after that. I guess Vibrato is also a good one. I like that one. Maraschino maybe. We'll see how this one is. Looking at the notes, it does remind me a little bit of Portrait of a Lady. So I hope it's not going in that direction. But the next brand I've never spoken about on the channel, although I might have a video of a little footage of the brand when they first launched in 2019 in Cannes. MAJOURI, they have a fragrance called Imperial Vanilla. Vanilla lover here, so I got to get my nose on this one. So most likely I'll get my nose on it when I go to Europe in February, but it's vanillin, tonka beans, caramel, rose, jasmine, brown sugar. I don't think that the brand's fragrances are too expensive. They come in pretty nice looking bottles, and I've been wanting to do some videos on the brand, so maybe after this launch we'll do some videos. But they had some nice, pleasant fragrances, nothing too exciting for me in the past. But this one's got me really excited, and I'm going to get my nose on it very soon. So hopefully it's great. And let me know if you've gotten your nose on any of these fragrances so far. Add a comment in the comments section. And if there's anything else that you are excited about, do let us know what it is. We want to find out what you're excited about, and we want to get excited as well. Okay, up next, going to the house of FRAPIN. It's 6 Hours to Rio. This is reminding me a little bit of Carioca Heart. I hope it's not a Carioca Heart-like fragrance from the house of Juicebox. So it's called 6 Hours to Rio. Rio is in Brazil. You know, the bossa nova music. The Carioca was inspired by bossa nova music. It does feature mango here. In Carioca Heart also featured mango. But this is Amberwood, oud, mango, ginger, guava, sandalwood, pineapple, vetiver, amber, musk, mandarin, cardamom, bergamot, rose, and ambrette. Let's see what it smells like. I do like FRAPIN, but they're just very underrated. Maybe they're more popular with their cognacs. I would like to taste some of their cognacs. I'm a drinker of spirits. I do enjoy sipping on some really fine spirits. So maybe one of these days I'll go back to the city of Cognac in France. I've first visited the Cognac way back in the 2000s. So maybe I will and check this one out. But let me know if you're a fan of FRAPIN's cognacs and FRAPIN's fragrances of this house. Moving on to Jo Malone, they have a fragrance called Taif Rose, and it's featuring notes of rose, amber, and coffee. Sounds like it's going to be a dud. I hope it's not. I like some Jo Malone fragrances, but the coffee rose thing has been done so much. And to me, it's reminding me or sounding a little bit more like Cafe Rose from the house of Tom Ford, and Jo Malone, Tom Ford, all under Estee Lauder. So the next fragrance is from the house of Ojar. It's a fragrance called Solar Flare, and I've got a bottle here I can quickly smell for you. I put my nose on this one during Cannes, the event, the TFW event. And for me, I think this fragrance is the most mass appealing. It's kind of gourmandesque, but I felt like it was not necessarily on the edgy side. Not that I'm saying their fragrances are edgy, but it felt a bit more mass appealing. But it features notes of pink pepper, honey, patchouli, mandarin, heliotrope, honeysuckle, osmanthus, white musk, and vanilla. Let's quickly smell again. I haven't put my nose on it since the event in Cannes. I mean, it's really yummy, I should say. It does it does smell a bit like a designer, but a little more edgier than a designer, but it doesn't have any rough edges. It's very refined, but it's super amazing, I think. I believe that Ojar works with Givaudan perfumers. This is also reminding me a little bit of Ex Nihilo's fragrances. So if you like Ex Nihilo's fragrances and you haven't tried Ojar, I would highly recommend you try it. But the next fragrance, we've got 4, I believe, fragrances from Creed. First of which is Fragaria. Really bad name for me, and also the notes breakdown sounds awful to me. Strawberries, violets, pink peppers, cedarwood, vetiver, bergamot, and mandarin. Let's not try and make strawberries the next hyped fruit, please. For me, strawberries turns out to be a bit cheap smelling and very girly. I don't know how these are going to be. We shall see. Or this one is going to be. We shall see. But I'm not too excited about this one, just reporting it to you guys. And then Original Santal is getting a relaunch. It's a 2024 edition of Original Santal. I already reported on the Original Vetiver in the last video like this, I believe. This Original Santal was not one of my uber favorite Creed fragrances, but why are they redoing all these fragrances? I don't get it. Reformulations? Is that what's going on? Sandalwood, lavender, tonka beans, coriander, ginger, juniper berries, cinnamon, rosemary, citrucism, vanilla. Remember I mentioned earlier Kering? Kering is Bottega Veneta, I believe, is now back with Kering, because I think the Bottega Veneta fragrances were under COTY, and I believe Kering just launched the new series of Bottega Veneta fragrances, and they really want to focus on their beauty division. And since they bought Creed, I think they're just relaunching a lot of their fragrances. But the next one is Royal Princess Oud 2024 edition. I thought this was a great fragrance when I first smelled it like 10 years ago almost. I never really owned a bottle. And also I felt like it was a bit on the masculine side rather than something uber feminine, but it's oud, violets, jasmine, patchouli, bergamot, rose, iris, vanilla, sandalwood, styrax, and I was referring to the old one. I haven't got my nose on the 2024 edition. Then we've got Aqua Fiorentina 2024. We've got plums, grapefruit, apples, rose, bergamot, lemons, carnation, cedar, sandalwood. Seems like a fruity floral kind of fragrance. Not a big fan of Aqua Fiorentina, but we'll see what happens. What's going to happen with all these fragrances? I feel like also the bottles are changing, looking more like the same bottles for both genders. Before, you can tell a woman's gender fragrance versus a male. Now I think the bottles are looking very similar to me. But moving on to the House of Fazzotic. It's Bruno Fazzolari's brand, Lilac Brulee. Big fan of lilac as a flower, and also a fan of gourmands. So I want to get my nose on this one and see what it's all about. I haven't spoken about his brand for a long time. He used to be based out of San Francisco. Now he's in Arizona. I've shot many videos with him. You can search for Bruno Fazzolari. This was before he changed his brand name. There's actually a recipe on how to make vanilla tincture as well on the channel with Bruno. But it's lilac, marzipan, rhubarb, whipped cream, tonka beans, cedar, cinnamon, sandalwood, mimosa, and vanilla. I spoke to someone that loves lilac. They did not like this fragrance. I still haven't got my nose on it, but I think that person doesn't like gourmands. I think they were expecting more of the lilac flower. This sounds to me like lilac nicely blended with the gourmand notes. If you've gotten your nose on this or any of the fragrances I've spoken about so far, do add a comment below and let me know if you're a fan of the Fazzotic house. So this seems like an interesting fragrance. I don't know this house specifically, Nirvana brands, and they're launching a Rolling Stones fragrance, RS number 9. I don't know anything about it. I wouldn't mind getting my nose on it, although looking at the notes breakdown, it doesn't seem too exciting, but it looks like it'll be a collector's item. So more like a celebrity fragrance here. Leather, oak, oud, labdanum, lemons, bergamot, musk, and patchouli. I don't know how I would get this fragrance. Just like the Rammstein fragrances are so difficult to get. So difficult to get. Although I'll be going to Austria here in February, so maybe I can bump into those at the drugstores because it is a German brand. But if you've gotten your nose on this Rolling Stones RS number 9, let me know. Add a comment below. And the last fragrance I'm going to talk to you about until I get to the bonus section is a new flanker for Angel's Share from the house of by KLEIN called Paradis. Has anybody got their nose on this one? Is this a legit fragrance? From what I found online, cognac, woodsy notes, spices, and fruits are what's credited. Is this created by Benoit Lapouza, who created the original? We'll see, but I think for me, I've lost interest in the house of KLEIN by KLEIN, but still, I think their boozy fragrances are some of the best. More than the gourmands, they have some really great boozy fragrances, and I think I would look up to KLEIN for boozy fragrances. And I still don't have a bottle of Old Fashioned. I think it's super delicious. I need to get a bottle. I felt like when I tested it out at Harrods, I loved the way it smelled. Really, really wonderful. And I would like to get a bottle. But yeah, I think they do some great boozy fragrances, and I'm looking forward to Angel's Share Paradis. Well, that's it, guys. Those are all the fragrances I'm speaking about today until the bonus section of 6 Brunello Cucinelli fragrances. What are your thoughts on these fragrances that I spoke to you about? Anything sound exciting to you? Do let me know. Add a comment in the comments section. And again, as I said, if there is anything else that you are excited about, do let us know as well. Add a comment so we can all find out. Either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. All right, Brunello Cucinelli, after 2 years, is launching 6 new unisex fragrances. If you recall, I bought the Pour Homme and Parfum in their Milan boutique just after Aix-en-Provence when I was there 2 years ago well, it'll be 2 years in April of 2025. So I bought them in 2023. They didn't get the launch here in the States for almost a year. Now I see them selling at Neiman Marcus. They're overpriced fragrances, at least to me they are for what you get. But I think both of them are pretty good, with the male being my favorite, but also the feminine one to be not so feminine. Does that make sense? The feminine one is created by Daphne Bouget, and then Olivier Cresp has created the Pour Homme. Again, the Pour Homme is my favorite. The feminine has chestnut note, but it's a very woody, musky fragrance. And then the male is cypress, which is very fresh, woody, and aromatic. So I think pretty solid fragrances, but very overpriced. I paid almost 200 euros for each one. So those were really, really pricey. And I don't even know how much they are here. Probably around the same price. I don't think I would do these over $200. But now they have a collection called Incanti Poetici fragrances, or, you know, perfumes. So it's interesting, 2 years later they're launching 6 fragrances, and I guess they're now going to get into it, and probably 2 years later they'll launch even more fragrances. The new fragrances are created by 3 Givaudan perfumers and 3 Firmenich perfumers, and Daphne Bouget is the only one that has redone a new fragrance. Olivier Cresp hasn't. But then there's also Alberto Moria's, and there's Florian Gallo. Florian Gallo's fragrance is a fig forward fragrance, and I feel like he's a fig guy. He did Mystic Bliss for Goldfield and Banks. It's a fig. He did Fig Porn for Born to Stand Out. Another fig, so I guess he likes to work with fig. But the first fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is Vento Ardente. Is that how you say it? It's Jordi Fernandez. This is saffron, leather, pepper, and amyris. What do you guys think of this one? I think that Jordi Fernandez does great work with leathery fragrances, so I'm going to have to see what it's all about. Saffron leather is a combo that I see quite often, and the pepper comes in here. Amyris, maybe a bit of a resinous ambery thing. None of the fragrances sound too exciting to me, and if they're around $200 each, again, I don't know who they're appealing to. They're appealing to wealthy people, I think. Because, I mean, if I'm going to pay $200, I want some substance. And these fragrances, the originals, to me, smelled great. I'm not complaining about the way they smelled, but I don't think they were substantial fragrances. So I personally think the fragrances are not worth more than $150. These two here. I would say somewhere in between 140, 150 is good. But I paid 200 euros for these. I think it might have even been more. So let's see what the price point is going to be for these 6 fragrances. But I just hope they're not going to be expensive. So continuing with the Givaudan perfumers, we've got a Quinton Biche fragrance here. It's sandalwood, osmanthus, vetiver, and cumin. And this is called Sogno Notturno. I think that's how you say it in Italian. This sounds like Ganymede to me, guys. Osmanthus, vetiver, maybe the Ensalade from Marc-Antoine Barrois. I don't know, man. Let's see what this one's all about. So the next one is created by Benoit Lapouza. I just spoke about him in the Angel Share Paradis, but he created the original Angel Share. I'm not sure if he's done the flanker for it, but he's doing a fragrance here for the House of Brunello Cucinelli. Vie Eteri, is that how you say this one? V-I-E Eteri. Vie, I don't know. So it's cardamom, cedar, basil, citron, and bergamot. So it's mostly spices and citruses and woods. Aromatics too, I should say. This sounds like it's leaning masculine. I think so far they're all leaning masculine. That's what I'm seeing from the different fragrances. So the next one is created by Florian Gallo. As I mentioned, he's with Firmenich, and he has done the Fig Porn for Born to Stand Out, Mystic Bliss, which is another fig fragrance for Goldfield and Banks. This is also featuring figs, but this is called Sophio Zenit. It's lavender, labdanum, figs, and rosemary. So we've got aromatics, spiciness with the lavender and the rosemary. We've got the labdanum, which is giving you that amber experience, resin, and then the figs. Is it the leaves we're gonna see? Is it the fruits? It doesn't say anything except for figs. Whenever I see just figs, I feel like it's the combo of the fruits and the leaves in the tree, but it depends. Some don't smell fruity at all and it says figs. Some say fig leaves and it smells fruity, so it's a bit confusing. But I'm a fig fragrance lover, and I want to get my nose on Sophio Zenit. The next one is Ombra Lyrica, created by Alberto Morias. This one sounds the most boring to me, unfortunately. It's Gaiac wood, olibanum, oud, and cedar. It's like an oud bomb with some resins, and I shouldn't say oud, like a wood bomb with a resin, like a smoky resin in there. This one also sounds very masculine, although the Sophio Zenit sounds a bit more unisex, maybe even feminine leaning if it's fruity. But this next one, the Ombra Lyrica, sounds the most boring to me, and also the most masculine. And then the last one is created by Daphne Bouget. Remember, she created the Parfum, the original from Brunello Cucinelli, featuring the musky notes and the chestnut note. This is called Brezza Gentile. It's bitter orange, ambroxan, and patchouli. Now this one sounds fun to me. A juicy, musky, ambery patchouli fragrance. I like the idea of that one a lot and would love to get my nose on it. But again, I hope the prices are not too high. These were really expensive for me. Even paying euros for them was expensive. Although I got the tax back, the tax refund. Here the prices are around 200, and also that does not include tax. So I think the price point is just too high for these fragrances. I just hope they lower the prices or they release these for less expensive. What do you guys think? Are they out yet in Italy? Have you gotten your nose on them? Do you want to get your nose on these fragrances from the house of Brunello Cucinelli? What are your thoughts on the Brunello Cucinelli Pour Homme and Parfum? Which one do you like better between the two if you have tested both out? If you're a man, do you wear the Parfum? Even though it says Parfum, I felt like it wasn't uber feminine because it doesn't have any floral notes. It's the chestnut and the musky notes, basically. I can't remember all the entire notes breakdown for it. And the Pour Homme to me does smell better. You can also, I think, layer the two together, and I think it'll smell great because they're not really thick and dense. They have room to play around with layering and things like that. So that's the other thing, and that's why I think these are not worth the price point for you guys. If they end up at discounters, maybe even better, but I haven't seen these at the discounters yet. Have you guys seen them at the discounters? Anyway, that's all I have for you guys today. I'm quite curious to get my nose on these new Brunello Cucinelli fragrances that are going to launch soon. and I will report back as soon as possible, as soon as I get my nose on them, and let you guys know all about them. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys later. Bye-bye.